its name, as its name suggests, this Pragya. Pragya is basically a kind of a transformation of Gyan into the practical application. So that is basically called wisdom. So in the era of modern technology, where the artificial intelligence, machine learning, natural language processing, and other such allied industry 4.0 technologies sensitizing whole industry segment. So the definitely understanding of the use of technology from the humanitarian perspective, it becomes more important. Though in different sessions of this particular workshop, you must be understanding the technological underpinning of using artificial intelligence, different techniques, technologies, methodologies, different approaches, different models, for the purpose of, for the sake of utilizing the information technology with intelligence for the sake of the societal benefit, industry benefit, and for the administrative and policy orientation. So this particular session is again a kind of exploratory session, as its title again indicating the strategic viewpoint that would be the coverage of this whole discussion. So I would be moving from the generative AI to Pragya by limiting the machine intelligence under the prerogative and purview of the Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, which is a buzzing word of the Hindustan. And it would be basically a humanitarian guru for the whole globe. So definitely it will guide the whole evolution of the generative AI or continual learning process for the use of technology in the society, for the industry, under the prerogative of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam philosophy. So moving ahead, the topic of the discussion would be covering the Gyan to Pragyan, human intelligence, and generative AI, how the strategic differences happen between the generative AI and human intelligence, the concept of continual learning, which is a step ahead over the generative AI, the guiding principle of the humanitarian generative AI in the prerogative of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. Again, the next topic would be the designing humanitarian generative AI, which would be in line with the above principle, and what happened so far and how the future would be next, and followed by the conclusion. So moving ahead, the two terminology that is very popular throughout the globe, that is knowledge and wisdom, Gyan and Pragyan. If you will look at it's basically dictionary meaning, then the essence of the Gyan is basically deliver the foundation of knowledge. And once the foundation of knowledge would be implicable for the benefit of the whole globe, that will becomes the wisdom, that is Pragya. So under if we will compare both the things, Gyan and Pragya, then these are the points which are basically considered as an aspects of comprehend these two philosophies. Basically, how the nature of Gyan and Pragya varies, how the sources of Gyan and Pragya varies, how the application of the Gyan and Pragya varies, what should be the depth of the Gyan and what should be covered under the Pragya, what would be the philosophical difference between the Gyan and Pragya, and what would be the focus and analogy of the things. So the nature of Gyan basically talks about the intellectual and factual understanding of any particular subject matter, while the Pragya talks about the deeper spiritual and intuitive understanding along with its implicability of the particular knowledge. So if we will talk about the sources, then Gyan can be acquired through education, study, and observation, while the Pragya is basically emanates from the self-awareness, realization, higher consciousness that is basically based on the Gyan. So for the attainment of the Pragya, the existence of Gyan along with the self-awareness, realization, and consciousness of individual. So it is more applicable and more versatile. Talking about the application, often the theoretical and conceptual focuses used to be knowing something that may be based on the theory, that may be based on the science, that may be based on the traditional knowledge system which has been documented under the Gyan category. While it would be applied, then it will become the Pragya. The source of Gyan in terms of its depths basically talks about the surface level knowledge. that can be accumulated based on the facts, while the pragya is profound insight into the essence of truth of the matters. We usually have multiple discussions, multiple debates on these issues, that how to distinguish these two things on certain basically distinguishing lines. So there is minor difference that segregate basically Gyan and Pragya, talking about the matter and antimatter. Science talks about the matter and antimatter, but Pragya always talks about its application. You must be heard the various lokas in Vedic books of India. The Lok, Brahmalok, Devlok, and etc. But it has not yet been realized by the science so far. So can we say that these lokas are basically simply imagination? It may be, but it has been observed, it has been intuitively known by, and on that the books has been compiled. So there should not be any question on these lokas, but yes, there should be requirement of certain steps that how to cultivate that jnana to that could connect in this particular lokas. So that is required. So it is again depending on the depth. Why that's why the surface level knowledge covers under the Gyan category, but its profound insights are basically, which is based on the self-awareness, consciousness, are basically covered under the Gyan. Pragya. So likewise, we will move ahead to utilize these fundamental philosophy that could be covered under the generative artificial intelligence. And systematically, we will go through different slides and we would be able to understand that how the things could be humanitarian oriented. So now talking about the human intelligence, which is basically source of deriving the artificial intelligence, the ability of humans to acquire, to apply, and to adapt new knowledge for new situation considered under the human intelligence. Basically, the three components are core, bear the core responsibility for the human intelligence, that is cognitive, individual's cognitive ability, emotional intelligence, and social intelligence. So it is again with the quote of Albert Einstein, the truth sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but it is imagination. Definitely, we would be able to understand a generative AI or any artificial intelligence tool which is based on the Gyan, which is based on the knowledge, probably won't be able to imagine something other than prescribe something. So understanding of the human intelligence that could be incorporated into the artificial intelligence is necessity of the time and necessity of the future. So considering this human intelligence philosophy, if we will look at the how this human intelligence developed, then these are the basic theory that biological evolution, cultural evolution, and modern influences that basically derive the continuous improvement into the human intelligence that broadly covers. If you will look at the biological evolution, that covers the basically larger brain size. If you historically, if you will look at the history of human evolution from last 70,000 years back, where the this basically backbone of the or the spinal cord of the human was basically found in a particular species, which was basically recognized at that point of time in the form of ape. So now that and look at the size of biological size of the brain, you evolved from 70 years back to till date, it is gradually increasing. So bigger the size of the brain, it is talking about the more human would be more intelligent. Second one is development of the language and abstract thinking, which is required for contextual interchange of the knowledge, interchange of the thought, and exchange of the knowledge and exchange of the thought as well. So both the things are basically connected with the biological evolution. Talking about the cultural evolution, that what could be exchanged and how what could be basically evolved. So that comes under the social system of the social ecosystem of the particular living beings, particularly where the human usually lives. That is basically based on the knowledge transformation across the generation and tools, arts, and societal system where the exchange of knowledge takes place basically. The third philosophy is basically connected with the human intelligence development is basically modern influences, that is education, digital technology nowadays, that enhance the intelligence ability of individual. More information, more processing, more delivery of knowledge, and more development of the pragya as well. So, if again question comes whether the development of the knowledge is connected with the pragya, questionable. There's a question. Now the point is that we can stop and think for a moment that yes, can be or cannot be. So this whole discussion would be again focusing on the transformation of the knowledge into the wisdom. Look at this particular two set of human intelligence knowledge set intelligence setup. That is basically broadly covering the cognitive skills and social and emotional skills. The two globes of the brain, some part of the brain are particularly dedicated for the cognitive skills, and some part of the brain is particularly dedicated for the emotional intelligence that cover the compassion, empathy, and mindfulness. While the another portion of the brain section cover the thinking, reading, learning, and reasoning. So both things collectively define the human intelligence as well. Now, there are multiple theories documented in the literature. This particular theory, I have not quoted the reference here. It has been ready-made opted by the Google source, but yes, author of this particular theory is basically well known. So, based on this multiple theory of intelligence, the human intelligence is basically collective association of these basically 8 factors. That is called naturalist theory, spatial theory, linguistic theory, intrapersonal skills theory, interpersonal skills theory, logical and mathematical reasoning ability, musical ability, and body kinesthetics. That basically balance and all these 8 section of the intelligence collectively and jointly ensure the human intelligence. So somehow, if we are going to copy the copy the human intelligence into the machine, or we can, in another word, we can, if we are going to train the artificial intelligence behave like a human, then these are the aspects that need to be covered partially or fully within the machine. There's definitely a researcher must be working in a particular domain of the intelligence, maybe taking the all aspects that should be captured under the artificial intelligence. But if we are talking about the humanoid robot, then it is prerequisite for the machinery purpose, for the machining purpose, for the industry purpose. The some certain degree of variation in these intelligence must be cope up with the robotics, humanoid robots, which can perform the act like a human in a particular industry, which is requirement of the time. Now, if we look at the possibility and the different challenges needed to ensure the human intelligence into the machine, then these are the challenges, and the challenges, inherited challenges are basically measuring the human intelligence, means testing the IQ of the human, versus the broader metrics of the intelligence, which used to be which used to be visible in a human, and which can be mapped on the machine also. That's another important thing, is the addressing of the biases related with the intelligence. That is that is again very contextual and situational. That requires exhaustive data to be collected, to be interpreted, to be imparted into the machine for its training like a human in a particular intelligence domain. What are the opportunities? The advancement in neuroscience and advancement in the artificial intelligence research for deeper insight, so that its application can be captured into the machine like a human. The application of the intelligence in intelligence again to solve the global challenges like climatic challenges, healthcare issues, education issues, production section, mapping of the machine to machine coordination, and etc. There are so many challenges are there. So many opportunities are there which need to be addressed by the use of this pragya into the machine. Again, at the same time, there is possibility call of action is needed that can be embracing the diversity in the intelligence, and promote equitable opportunity for its holistic development globally and locally as well. Now, if we look at in the whole philosophy, if we are in general, we all are most acquainted with the use of generative AI like ChatGPT nowadays, OpenAI. Gradually, the model of these generative AI is basically evolving. Different countries are bringing different set of generative AI models gradually. I mean, in just before 20 days back, China announced its own generative AI. It is claiming they are claiming that it is more powerful than the OpenAI. So to derive such kind of advancement in the generative AI system, basic philosophy everywhere used to have follow the data, its training on the fundamental model to deliver the n number of outputs. That may be question answering, that may be sentiment analysis, that may be information extraction from any sources, that may be compilation of information in the form of particular image, extracting information from the image, object recognition, instruction following, video creation, audio creation. All their delivery may be possible. That absolutely depends on the foundational model of the generative AI. So the basic principle of designing a particular generative AI follow these 5 steps. That is prioritization of a human-centered approach, safety of the creator, fans, consumers, and the public. These category may be varying from different context to context and stakeholders to stakeholder. While the third step is basically AI development, that is again subjected to the copyright for any institution, any organization, any country, and finally policy of the international domain, so that it can holistically can be used by concerned stakeholder as well. The fourth step is basically transparency as a fundamental element, so that the use of the generative AI can be basically openly accessible under certain clear-cut terms and conditions, pros and cons, advantage, disadvantage, impact and cost-benefit analysis, and etc. Whatever the possible natural requirement may be, that can be transformed into the form of generative AI to ensure the transparency. The ethical concerns of generative AI, which is very, very sensitive issue nowadays, from the evolution of the OpenAI, which has been revolutionized the whole AI domain experts and engineers. The ethical concerns become the most vital throughout the globe. Every techno managers are gradually trying to understand how this generative AI capability can be ensured through ethical paradigm. So these 5 fundamental pillars are important from the strategic point of view to design any generative AI. Just a minute. So these are some technologies which are required that should be considered under generative AI. I think all the participants must be well versed with these terminology: machine learning life cycle, which is very fundamental to design any generative AI; neural network, that is again foundation and backbone of any artificial intelligence system; the generative models, which basically covers the generative adversarial network, which generates the information, and the variational auto encoders that basically encode the inputs and create the restructure the basically output. So this is basically quite different model as compared to the normal earlier artificial intelligence model, because this particular generative AI models uses 2 different networks. Data must be coming from one set. Training of the particular network would be done, and based on that, some output used to be created, and the second network used to basically synthesize that outcomes of the first network to create certain output. The third and very important component of this generative AI model is basically transformer. That is basically backbone of the modern generative AI, and it synthesizes the connectivity of the two networks, means and it offers seamless output to the user by taking this seamless input from the different sources. So again, looking at the very fundamental, these are the life cycle of the machine learning. That is operational deployment. That it starts from the data labeling, feature engineering, data cleaning and wrangling, ontological engineering, model selection, target data identification, desired output determination. Again, moving ahead, the operational deployment of the same machine model, post pre-processing and visualization of the output, prediction of the output based on the desired output and delivered output, the model evaluation and validation, again testing the correctness, accuracy, and whatever the preset objective for the machine learning models, model training and cloud architecture that can deploy the basically machine learning model for holistic use to different stakeholders. So this is one small component of whole generative AI system. And like this machine learning life cycle of a particular task, there may be n number of machine learning models existing in a particular generative AI model. Even in a particular network of a generative AI model, simultaneously the another network must be again using the same kind of machine learning techniques, and both can be synthesized by using the transformer techniques and deliver the end outputs. See, now the modern just a minute. Is it visible to all of you? Is it visible? Challenges and opportunities in generative AI model. So these are some speculated challenges. It may not exhaustively be written over here. It is just indicative. Being a researcher, you can also explore the different challenges from different sources, but ethical concern, which is normally nowadays, it is very visible. Yeah.
Hello, sir. Your slide is not changing. It's still on the first slide.
Is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is it changing now?
No, sir. Now the slides are not visible.
Okay. Some technical glitch. What is status now?
Yes, sir. Now it's fine.
I think ethical generative AI slide must be visible to you.
Yeah. Ethical Gen AI slide is there.
Okay. So I think it should be objected earlier. But anyway, so let us move ahead next. Okay. So I was just talking about the challenges and opportunities in generative AI, right? Is it visible clearly? Shashankji?
Yes, sir. It's visible now.
Okay. So there are n number of possible challenges and opportunities in generative AIs. And the document, I mean, written over here may not be appropriately covering all the aspects, but it is just based on certain observation. It has been written. There are n number of possible challenges may be there. So that basically talks about the challenges. Basically covers the ethical concerns, data privacy issue, and computational and environmental cost over which the generative AI is basically facilitating its services to the end stakeholders. So normally this deep fake, misinformation, manipulated information, and morphing, copying, such kind of multi-cloning, these are associated challenges. Again, this is directly related with the ethical concern of the use of the generative AI. At the same time, there is also opportunity to use this generative AI in terms of revolutionizing the creativity and productivity of individual by arguing, by passing certain question, by experimenting with experimental with the generative AI, so that you can visualize your thought process immediately when the thought used to come into the mind by the use of generative AI. So it can definitely minimizes the resource consumption to visualize the thought creativity by physically deploying the resource on place by the use with the help of generative AI. So it can enhance the education, healthcare, research, industrial applications, and etc. It can again help to collaborative acts between the human to human, human to machine, process to process, process to quality, quality to output, quality to customer, company to and etc. There is n number of possibilities. Whatever you think, everything possible by the use of generative AI, subject to you. I mean, any researcher must consider the ethical concern, data privacy concern, and computational and environmental cost nowadays. So with this particular slide, there is possibility of this different action that could be taken in near future. That is the design and development of responsible artificial intelligence on the ethical framework. So considering that responsible artificial intelligence, there are certain pillars. That pillars basically covers the inclusiveness of the different system into the generative AI model, transparency of the information from the input side to output side, explainability of the facts which are being produced as an output to different stakeholders, accountability of the data which are being produced by the generative AI as an output, the privacy of the information which can be particularly derived to a particular person without breaching the privacy of individuals and others. The security concern is again related with the responsible AI, which need to be ensured that yes, it can work. The generative AI can work under the policy, procedure, and given law. Simultaneously, the next pillar is basically reliability of the machine, generative AI, which is basically used for a particular purpose. At the same time, the safety of the system of system of generative AI itself, and the system which are being interacted with the generative AI to produce its output or to deliver its output to particular stakeholders. And finally, the compliances of the guidelines and the principles that could be under the prerogative and protocol of the particular local authority, particular industry, particular organization, particular nation, and at international venture as well. And again, the more important and foremost need is basically alignment with the human values. That is basically constituting the thought of a responsible artificial intelligence system that is mapped on the any generative AI system nowadays. Yes, now how can we say that yes, generative AI should be ethically correct or ethically appropriate? So again, the 5 basic phenomena, that is authenticity, accuracy, transparency, and privacy and anti-biases. 5 fundamental phenomena is sole responsible for ethical AI design. So these terms are very common, but it is just for the sake of remembrance. This has been written over here. Now looking at the non-ethical challenges of a generative AI, right? So what could be the non-ethical challenges? Those challenges which are basically not being considered at the time of generative AI designing, but gradually it is found that it is breaching the ethical tradition of the particular stakeholders or particular environment under which it is going to be deployed. So it is just highlighting point that yes, how to distinguish between the non-ethical and ethical related with the generative AI. that is basically content regulation, is security, transparency, moral responsibility, misinformation and disinformation. Both the terms are entirely different. Privacy, biases, economic disruption, and environmental impact as well. Right. So this particular slide has been taken from the Techopedia website, and it was found more realistic and applicable as compared to another two previous slides. Now, looking at the comparative and connecting study of the generative AI versus human intelligence. This is, if you will look at the two different aspects, one is machine and another is human, then generative AI requires a large data set, lack context beyond training, and data dependency, while the human intelligence learns dynamically, applies knowledge flexibly. Now, looking at the second paradigm is that is decision making, and third paradigm is strength. Sorry, and fourth paradigm is opportunity. So, in decision making, generative AI follows the algorithmic approach. No emotional input can be captured, while the human intelligence always weigh the emotions, ethics, the context in which the knowledge is used, the decision is to be taken. While talking about the pillar of the strength, this generative AI is efficient, is speedy, and highly scalable, while the human intelligence is basically not following the philosophy of efficiency, speed, scalability, but it is competent from the different sides that in terms of its in activity, empathy, and adaptability of the situation. So now, if you will look under the four headings: data dependency, decision making, strength, and two comparative study, then we being a researcher can explore and attempt to connect the gap between the generative AI and human intelligence under each section of the comparative analysis, right? So I think from this discussion, we would be able to understand that in what way generative AI and human intelligence connected in terms of data dependency by carrying the strength of human intelligence and artificial intelligence in decision making, using the capability strength of both the intelligence and exploiting the opportunity in terms of designing a collaborative system combining the artificial intelligence efficiency with the human creativity. In one aspect, artificial intelligence speed and scalability with the adaptability of the human intelligence, while the speed of artificial intelligence with the cognitive capability of the human intelligence. Right. So looking at the philosophy of integrating a collaborating approach towards capturing the human intelligence and machine intelligence in more adaptable way, that can be devising a humanitarian artificial intelligence system or intelligence system which is leading to achieve the objective of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. This continual model would become more basically gaining popularity nowadays. And if we are looking at the human intelligence and generative AI from the continual learning perspective in terms of adaptive learning, then human intelligence have a natural ability to learn from new experiences and adapt their knowledge dynamically, while the generative AI is basically follow the continual learning models. It involves updating the models incrementally without requiring full the training. And however, the artificial intelligence struggle with the adapting the dynamic non-linear context of the situation like a human. So this is basic difference. In generative AI, for the adaptive learning, we have to divide different models. That the model should be automatically or dynamically evolved over a situation, and one model can be transformed into another model over a period of time, which is a kind of similar, which is performing kind of similar action like a human. So, but there is certain challenge to avoid such situation where the human used to forget something. The machine, if evolving with its model, can remember its all model for a longer period. may create a complex situation in terms of resource consumption. So over a period of time, if model is continuously evolving, and previous model may be just used for a very smaller, very particular purpose, but advanced model can be used for diversified purpose. Still, the older model can acquire resources if it is existing with the system. Then the ability of human, that is the ability of forgetting, comes into the picture. Then the generative model, sorry, continual learning model with adaptive learning capability needs a kind of decision-making tool that at what circumstances old and previous model should be destroyed and cleaned from the system, so that the efficiency of the whole machine should be on the place as per the expectation for the deployment purpose. The continual learning, again, the second aspect of the continual learning is the contextual awareness. If the human intelligence, then human excels at under context and applying knowledge based on the nuanced situation. For instance, the interpreting sarcasm, suppose in real-time environment happening, or understanding the cultural context, the human intelligence act very powerfully. While the artificial intelligence system contextually understand perform the situation based on the existing knowledge, rather interpreting this context. So it is understanding the contextual situation is very limited nowadays. So what could be the best solution for that? Advancement in multimodal artificial intelligence system could be in the place that can basically aim to improve the contextual comprehension by combining the data from data, text, images, voices, videos being accommodated from the particular situation. Sorry. In the same way, the continual learning always look for the lifelong learning capability, which is like a human. So if again we are comparing the generative AI model and human intelligence, then humans continuously learn throughout the life. They can improve their the thoughtful experiences. They can enhance their knowledge by a formal education. They can again reflect the application of that particular learning into the environment automatically. So this enables the creativity and innovation among the human, with that can be applicable to the diverse set of the platform of the life. While in generative AI, again, it lacks basically true lifelong learning process. These kind of setup basically train for the static data set, train with the static data set, and they can interpret the outcomes based on their training and acquiring the input from the environment where it has been deployed. So again, there is scope that how this statisticity of a particular generative AI model can be transformed into the dynamic, which can act like human to learn the lifelong learning process, so that it can act on behalf of the human. So this third particular discussion is again opening a dimension for enhancement of a generative AI system by following the human intelligence capability of lifelong learning capability. The again fourth pillar of the continual learning is basically ethical and moral learning, which is very prominent in human intelligence, very prominent with the act of human intelligence. While the generative AI lacks this particular phenomena, it simply operates within the predefined ethical boundaries, but it does not inherently understand the morality as well. So there is need for a research that includes embedding the ethical framework in the AI system that could understand the ethical and moral relation from the human learnings to act like a human. So hence, this continual learning model basically covers the diverse set of models, which has been segregated here in terms of A, B, C, and D. There are A is basically different tasks that has been given to the that need to be given to a particular continual learning model. B is processing part, C is processing part, and D is deliverable part. So theory and methods both are sensitizing to the deliverable part to bring out the suitable application that would be acting like a human. So I think once I will say slide, then probably it will give you more comprehensive understanding. You can refer that. Coming to the principle that humanitarian generative AI, for the sake of the Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, so this whole philosophy has been captured into the single statement: harnessing artificial intelligence for inclusive and diversified ethical global progress. This particular line is capturing the capability of knowledge, capability of technology, capability of ethics in the form of machine intelligence. So again, referring to our my earlier slides, which had been starting of this particular presentation, humanitarian intelligence basically lies on the empathy, ethics, and adaptability. Basically, essential for leveraging the capability of artificial intelligence for the greater goodness for the globe. So, how to align the generative AI with the human intelligence? These are some directive strategy where the embedding ethical framework into the AI algorithms are very inherent from the AI researchers, and simultaneously the AI researchers must also be able to sensitive to understand the cognitive ability, cognitive theory of human intelligence as well. The second one is the training of the artificial intelligence on diversified and inclusive data set that must cover the all ethical, empathetic, and emotional behavior of the human into the machine learning, into the artificial intelligence models. The third one is basically a cohesive and collaborative work between two sets. It may be two machine, it may be human machine, it may be human interfacing between human to human as well, right? So moving ahead, principally, if we will follow the philosophy of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, then there is need of unity in diversity, which is principle of the Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. Global interdependence means everyone is collaborating for the sake of benefit of individual, and the compassion and equity, that everyone is equally equal and everyone is following the fair practices for everyone. So if we are going to enrich the ethical behavior of artificial generative AI system, then these principle would be the guiding direction to enhance the ethics of a generative AI system, which would be lead benefits and welfare of the overall globe. Overall globe stake of the people used to be involved for different activities. It may be society, it may be industry, it may be in organization. Also, the generative AI must be facilitating from the humanitarian perspective by following this philosophy. To design such kind of generative AI, following the philosophy of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, these four are the guiding directions: that there should be inclusiveness in the AI system. The AI system must capture every corner of ethics into the model, while the all decision of human artificial intelligence should be human centric. Again, there should be a kind of architecture which must be able to collaborate with the different machine, different human, different processor, and this different technology as well. So based on the above discussion, we are moving ahead to moving toward the end of the discussion. In terms of conclusion, that is followed by the by a vision of integrating the philosophy of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam into the generative AI. Where the continual learning may be a right direction to approach to achieve the philosophy of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam by following the path of different use of generative AI models to design a continual learning system, and following the ethical principle toward the sake for the sake of the human benefit. The action point may be the fostering just to achieve this particular object. We can collaborate with different streams, different researchers, different institutions on based on the competency. There is need of huge investment for the AI related research, which can rigorously think about designing an ethical model that can be helpful that can be well aligned with the philosophy of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam theory. And again, we can there is need to sensitize a particular research group to another particular research group globally, so that there may be possibility to basically guide the whole artificial intelligence community through a particular philosophy where the ethical principle of the understanding of machine and machine intelligence must be captured. That can only be possible once the different groups globally can integrate to each other, work together on a particular ethical AI development philosophy. The closing thought with this particular path forward is the technology is a tool to unite, not divide, embodying Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam theory into one. So these are some crux which are directional, that is immense potential in the artificial intelligence field, which can be transformed into the human intelligence system for the sake of humanities. There are certain ethical challenges that may pose the significant societal risks that need to be addressed into the ethical humanitarian artificial intelligence generative models. And while the responsibility and regulations must also be reviewed time to time in the prerogative of humanitarian value system. So with this, I would be thanking you for giving me opportunity to interact with the audience. And it is end from my side. Now I'm inviting certain questions if there are.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your insightful lecture on the topic. If anyone have any question from the participant side, please ask. Looks like there is no question. So on that note, we would like to thank you from our organizing team to you, sir. And the values and ethics must be integrated with the technology. Only that is the way forward in order to survive as a society. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Should I leave the meeting?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.